Rosh, we're both Guyanese, brother.
Yes.
And I couldn't wait to ask you this question. So I just came from there. Why Guyana? What are you seeing that many of us, especially in the diaspora, are not seeing about Guyana?
Guyana's home, Selwyn. And if a home is broken, or there's an issue, or there's a way to improve it, or there's a way to fix it, I'd like to think that you'd want to do that, or you want to play a part in doing that. Guyana has so much potential. I know we hear the word all the time. Some people are sick of hearing that word, right? We hear people say that all the time. But when you look at what Guyana can do, arguably, I think one of the richest country in the world, if you count what's in the ground, and you understand that more than the space we're in, more than the geography, more than the natural resources in the ground, we have amazing people. And I think the power of our nation is in its people. We have a brain drain issue. Al Jazeera was in Guyana not that long ago, a couple of years ago, and did a feature on this, about the brain drain in Guyana. I think we're number one in the region, if not number one in the world. And that's a problem. And I'm not, Selwyn, going to play a role in making that statistic worse. If anything, I want my role to be reversing that statistic. You look at Guyana, and you look at how brilliant our people are, and you realize that yes, we found oil, yes, that's going to play a huge role in the transformation of our country. But what I see, Selwyn, is the ability to export this. The ability to export our expertise. You know, there's this economy that people refer to called the gig economy. They call it the knowledge economy. We've moved out of the industrial age and we've entered the knowledge worker age. And I think when you look at what we're capable of doing, we have a massive opportunity. And this is why I'm so involved in the projects that I'm involved in. Building capacity, making sure people have certain skill sets. Because from Guyana, the world is in your digital backyard. Because of the internet, because of mobile phones, because of computers, we have this ability to serve the globe. Yes, we can be we can serve the Caribbean with food. Yes, we've got great natural resources. Yes, we've got amazing gold. But Selwyn, what if we had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people using the internet, making an impact around the world? Because those jobs exist, by the way. There are hundreds of thousands of these jobs that are being posted every single day online. People in Southeast Asia are jumping on them. People in Eastern Europe are jumping on them. People right here in America are jumping on them. But back home in Guyana, why can't more of us play a part with that? You look at what's happening with Qualfund, what's happening with Sambora, what's happening with Teleperformance. These are all companies that have realized that people are the powerful asset in Guyana. So they're coming to Guyana. They're setting up shop in Guyana. And those people aren't in a back office or handling customer calls, support calls for Guyanese. They're serving the world. So my vision is that more of us do that. That hundreds of thousands of Guyanese tap into this and imagine what that will do for our economy at the community level and then at the nation level. If you do the math on that, it's tremendous.
So with that, Guyana could be a real data-driven or digitally emerging market.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm talking about website design, I'm talking about graphic design, I'm talking about research, I'm talking about data analysis, I'm talking about back office type jobs, payroll entry, data entry. There's no limit to what we can do if we provide the kind of capacity building and training for our citizens across the country, which is why I'm very excited about what Minister Kathy Hughes is doing in the ICT field with creating ICT hubs across Guyana. Imagine what that's going to do for communities where they will now have access to the internet and where all these post offices will be turned into ICT hubs. How simple but how radical of an idea that is.
I love it.
to be able to bring the community back to the post office, but instead of them coming there to send and receive, now we've got access to Wi-Fi. We've got access to computers. That is the perfect catalyst for what I think Guyana can become in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Rosh, let's go back a bit to this 23-year-old Rosh Khan. Young, just graduated as a medical doctor. What is going through your mind in terms of career path at that time?
All right, let me back up for this one. The reason I got into medicine is because, as cliche as it sounds, I want to help people. I watched the movies, I saw the things about doctors, I came across this amazing movement, you've probably heard about it, Doctors Without Borders. Fascinated by what they do. I said, here's an opportunity for me to help people. I love science, it all made perfect sense. So I went down the medical path. 2 years into it, I kind of realized, remember the books I mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
With Michael Dell and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates? I realized, hang on a second. As much as I love medicine, as noble as that profession is, and I have the utmost respect for healthcare professionals, I think they put their lives on the line every single day. And what they do, I think we take for granted the level of sacrifice that healthcare professionals make. But looking at being a doctor in the medical field, I realized maybe I'm approaching this at too micro of an approach. Maybe I need to approach it from a macro level. As a doctor, as amazing as that is, you're helping people one at a time. What if you created these revenue-generating machines like Gates and Jobs and Dell, and then you took that cash, and you applied it to humanitarian causes? Now you're approaching it from a macro level. What if the businesses, right, that you created could fund humanitarian aid? What if it could fly in much needed supplies into hard to reach communities? What if it could fund research? What if it could build hospitals and schools? And this is kind of the thinking that took place while I was in med school. Mind you, I was still bitten, Selwyn, by the entrepreneurial bug.
Right.
I was a kid, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but I was the kid who was selling mixtapes to my uncles and friends.
Oh,
Right? I was listening to the radio, and remember I used to record?
Yeah.
Back then, you had to hit the pause button, switch the tape around, and then hit it smartly. So I used to do that. And I used to sell mixtapes as a kid. I used to take my dad's cucumbers. I know he's listening, or might be listening. I used to take my dad's cucumbers and go to my aunt in All Boys Town and sell them to her so she could sell them. Right? I was the kid in school that used to set up commerce camps. I used to get the kids to bring all the old books so we can sell it and make some money and buy some things for the school. So I was bitten by this entrepreneurial bug very early on. But I love the sciences and I love to help people. So it all started to come together. It all started to come together in the later years of medicine, where I realized maybe I can channel that energy. Maybe I could channel this vision and maybe get out of medicine for a while. We're still in people development, Selwyn. At the end of the day, whether you're building businesses, you're coaching people, you're helping them in healthcare, you're still in people development. And sort of realized when I graduated that I don't think I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Maybe I come back to this once I create these revenue-generating machines, but I'm going to go down the path of entrepreneurship. And it was kind of tough. I knew internally this is the direction I wanted to go in. But everything up at this point was medicine. My family.
I'm curious about something. That
Yes.
You brought this up. The West Indian parent.
Yes.
A child becomes a lawyer or a doctor. I mean, it's more than pride. It's bragging
Sure.
rights. It's
Sure.
the whole bit. So you went into medicine. You graduated at an early age. Now you've been bitten and smitten by this entrepreneur.
I like that.
You're ready to rush, no pun here, rush rushes down the path, the entrepreneurial path. How is that conversation with your parents. But let's talk about the conversation with that particular conversation with your dad first, and then we'll go to mom.
Sure. Actually, I had the conversation with both of them together.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So let me talk to both of them. So I think they knew a couple years in that there was some resistance, and I had to get a little bit of coaxing and cajoling Rosh, just finish the degree, get to the end of it. And I think what may have been especially infuriating to my parents is that I passed the medical boards, the United States medical licensing exam with flying colors. I actually topped my class.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But to come to them after that and say, hey, by the way, I don't think I'm going to go down the path of medicine. They knew I was interested in business, but I don't think they saw it coming that I was going to say to them, I'm officially putting this on hold. I'm not throwing it aside, but I'm putting it on hold, and I'm going down the path of entrepreneurship. And the way I sold it to them, Selwyn, was, Mom, Dad, I know what's going to be the next big thing, and I think I need to jump on this. And I told them, don't worry, I'm going to go back to medicine. But I think I need to jump on this. Because when you look at history and you look at people who made decisions at the right time, because market timing is everything, you realize that had they made that decision a year earlier or a year later, they would have missed the boat. And that's the pitch I threw to my parents. And they saw that I was making some headway in this because I was smart about it, Selwyn. I couldn't go to them with nothing and say, hey, by the way, I'm just going to go into business. I had to have something under my belt. So without them knowing, what I did was start. And that's the advice I give all the entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs that I speak to today. I have a lot of medical students that come to me and say, Rosh, I don't think I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And young people who are in law school who come to me and say that, or in engineering school and come to me and say that. And I say, you know what? Proof's in the pudding. So go out there in your spare time, in your part-time, and do something. Show some level of success. And I did that with my parents. I was able to connect with the #1 internet marketer in the world at that time, Chris Farrell. And I was able to, no worries, bless you.
Thank you.
And I was able to connect with him. I was able to get a gig from him. I was able to get paid by him. So when I went to my parents, I said, not Mom, Dad, I'm going to jump into this thing. It was Mom, Dad, I'm going to go into this thing full time. But by the way, I've got some success under my belt, and here's what it looks like. Now that wasn't easy, I think, for my parents to swallow. I think they had a few sleepless nights. They know, and I don't say that lightly, because they know how tough business is. And one of the reasons they didn't want us to get involved in the business, because my dad could have done that, right? He could have said, son, you're not going off to college or university or going to med school. Come learn the business with me. We all know he needed the help. And I could have been there to support him through the process. But he wanted us to be empowered with skills that can be used outside of business. He wanted to make sure that our futures were secure. So the fact that I've now come full circle, Selwyn, and said, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going into business, I think was startling. But he also understood the drive. It's in the blood, right? And they gave me a chance. They gave me a chance to go out there and to make it happen.
How important, in retrospect, was them giving you that chance? Now, I ask you this question because we both know that you're mature enough, you're of age, you could have made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
But you were raised right. You have respect. Parents' opinion matter. How important it was to you that they agreed with what you were saying?
I think it was important, but at the same time, had they disagreed or rejected the notion of me going into business, I would have done it anyway. I'm the kind of guy that, again, it's this consultative approach. Even for my team, before I do something, I'm never going to announce anything without first finding out from them how they feel about it. I think it's important. And then it's kind of asking for objections as opposed to permission. And I've done that throughout my life, and it's what I did with my parents. It wasn't, Mom, Dad, can I do this? It's, Mom, Dad, here's where my head's at, here's the direction I want to go into, and it was open for objections. I didn't get any strong objections at that point. I got concerns, I got hesitations. So it was important, Selwyn. It was important, but I think I would have moved forward even more so, because now I would have had this chip on my shoulder. I've got to prove myself even more.
Rosh, let's take a break.
Sure.